I forgot to bring my wallet. Can't you just cover for me? I'm counting on you. Your back pain isn't that big of a deal, is it? I've seen plenty of unacceptable behaviors from this person before, but making such comments to someone suffering from back pain is just out of line. It's clear she only thinks of herself. It's pitiful that she doesn't realize that what she does to others can come right back at her. I'm Catherine, and I just turned 70 the other day. Up until recently, I worked at a local small business in Nebraska, but now that extended employment is over, I'm a full-time homemaker. Having worked at the same place for nearly 50 years since graduating high school, it was a bit sad to leave. But now, I'm getting used to being a homemaker, and I've started to think that the relaxed life with my husband isn't so bad. Thinking about it, I've never really taken the time to enjoy the simple pleasures of daily life with my husband, but now every day feels fresh and enjoyable. I met my husband at our favorite cafe. One Saturday, after my morning shift, I went to our usual cafe, and by chance, he was sitting near me at the counter. He didn't come off as particularly stylish, but there was something earnest about him that caught my attention. From then on, we started seeing each other more, especially after my Saturday morning shifts or on lazy Sunday afternoons. Our conversations also gradually increased. Although for every 10 things I'd say, I'd be lucky if he responded to 2 or 3, I fondly remember how happy I was that he'd take his time to think deeply and respond. Our relationship naturally blossomed, and it didn't take long before we got married. Even after marriage, the dynamics between us didn't drastically change. I mostly did the talking, and he, now my husband, mostly listened. I think that balance worked perfectly for both of us. We were blessed with a son, and the 3 of us lived happily. Back then, there was a significant labor shortage. I barely got any time off around childbirth and worked almost continuously. It'd be a lie to say it wasn't tough. But I had my husband and our newborn son to support, and that kept me going. There were times when I made my son feel neglected, and I know I often left my husband to fend for himself. However, both my son and husband respected my dedication to my job and the hard work I put into it. I can't count the number of times their words on Mother's Day or our anniversary almost brought me to tears. I'm grateful for my well-behaved son and my ever-quiet, yet reassuring husband. While enjoying these simple daily pleasures, my son, who had been living at home, suddenly revealed he was seeing someone. Considering he went to an all-boys high school and mostly male-dominated courses in college, this came as a shock. I was surprised, but at the same time, I realized he's at an age where it's not surprising for him to have a girlfriend. It really hit me deep. He's over 30 and has been living a routine life between home and work. I realized that those late nights after work were probably him spending time with his girlfriend. Having grown up in such a male-dominated environment, hearing about a girlfriend out of the blue was surprising. But I knew I had to stay calm. I prepared myself for the worst-case scenario, in case she turned out to be bad news. However, when I met her, I immediately felt that she was all right. Her straightforward manner of speaking, her neat appearance, and most importantly, the aura that she genuinely cared for my son, were evident. Maybe it's because I always find women who speak their minds more relatable, or perhaps it's how deeply she seemed to care for my son even while they were dating. Frankly, I had a good first impression of her. Later on, I learned that my husband felt the same way. My husband, as always, speaks little but communicates clearly when it matters, so I can trust him. With both of us in full support, my son's relationship with his girlfriend continued, leading to their marriage 6 months later. She appeared quite mature, being 3 years older than our son. Apparently, they had met and grown close working on the same team at their company. She was on a contract, and with the marriage, she decided to quit her job. On the other hand, my son has been working at the same company since graduating college. He's now in a significant role, with an irregular schedule. So having someone to support him mentally and physically must have felt reassuring. I had always wanted a daughter and hoped to get along with his girlfriend. But I'd soon realized that my hope of getting close to her was just a fleeting dream. Following their marriage, my son and his wife began living as a couple. They both had lived with their parents until then, and now, with marriage, they started their own independent household. So, we decided to give them a modest wedding gift. The bride was the eldest daughter and my son, the only child and the eldest. Given that a treasured daughter had married into our family, we gave a bit more than the usual amount. However, the words she uttered after receiving the gift were unbelievable. Even now, I cannot forget. Wait, this amount? From marrying into a family with an only son, this is all? I thought I might have misheard, but I didn't want to spoil the mood. Given my son's limited experience with women until now, I felt that if he missed this opportunity, he might not find another partner. Despite clearly hearing those surprising words, I pretended I hadn't heard anything. But in retrospect, deliberately overlooking this sign was a huge mistake. Soon enough, we realized the error of our ways. While we saw our son mainly during traditional holidays, the number of visits where she acted selfishly began to increase. I can't sit under an AC, I might catch a cold. But if it's just a fan, it's too hot for me. I'm on a low-carb diet, so I only eat low-carb mayonnaise. It was always something with her. If it was in her own home, she could do as she pleased. But this was my home, and as her mother-in-law, I found her demands a bit much. Yet, she wasn't always unreasonable. Sometimes I'd get annoyed, but I'd remind myself to accommodate her requests. However, lately, it seems she's going too far. She often puts her needs and desires first, and it's becoming too much. Do you have a dress? I want to wear one for a gathering with my friends. Can I borrow it? I own several kimonos, and each one has been carefully chosen for its exquisite fabric. Even now, decades after purchasing them, it's evident at first glance how high quality they are. I don't wear them much now, so feel free to wear them anytime. But be careful, the fabric is delicate. Yes, I understand. She borrowed it hastily. When it came back, it was in terrible shape. There were stains, wrinkles, and what seemed to be bits of food. Clearly, she hadn't had it cleaned. It appeared as if she had taken it off in a rush and brought it to us as is. It was hard to move in because the fabric didn't stretch. But they say dress deteriorate if you don't wear them. Wasn't it good timing for me to wear it now? I didn't know how to respond, so I could only muster a disheartened reply. I wondered if she always behaved this recklessly in her daily life. Still, there was no way to ask. Recently, it's mostly my daughter-in-law who visits our home, with my son and grandchildren rarely around. Apparently, they are busy with work and club activities, which means she visits us alone. I wonder if my son is aware of how she behaves when she's at our home. Regardless of whether he knows or not, I've started to find her daily behavior increasingly problematic. While my son is busy with work, his wife comes to check on us. To an outsider, it might seem like a close relationship between in-laws, but it's not the reality. My husband, being of an older generation, tends to avoid confrontations. Sometimes, I'm not sure what he's thinking. He just accepts my daughter-in-law's comments without showing any disapproval. I hope that as a married couple, they'll eventually understand each other. But I also fear I might be mistaken. Despite my son and grandchildren being busy, my daughter-in-law continues to visit us. She came quite frequently, about once every 1 to 2 weeks. I couldn't be too harsh on her, but I did sense some ulterior motives. Every time she came over, she had specific requests, this snack, that tea leaf. Her whimsical demands were endless. Then, out of the blue, she said something unexpected. Your wedding anniversary is coming up, right? My husband and I were discussing, and we'd like to celebrate it as a way to thank you for all you do for us. I was shocked to hear this from her. But I hoped that the daughter-in-law we cared for had feelings for us. We would be delighted. My husband would surely appreciate your gesture. So, it was decided that they would celebrate our wedding anniversary. We'll reserve a special restaurant for the day. Look forward to it. We didn't know the venue or the cost, and simply went where she told us to. Ah. Welcome. Please, come this way. Unfortunately, my husband had sudden work, and my son made plans with his friends. But I thought it'd be a waste to cancel, so I came alone. It was a shame we couldn't spend time with our son and grandchild, but if they had other commitments, we understood. The place looked upscale, with a grand facade, hallways showcasing koi fish and waterfalls. We were led to a lavish private room, and dishes were served one after another. Every dish was evidently top tier. Every bite felt like heaven. Preparing such a delicious meal and wonderful atmosphere as an anniversary gift made me see her in a new light. Perhaps she didn't mean harm with her occasional offhand comments. I thought maybe she felt comfortable enough with me to speak freely. Just as I was settling into this positive outlook, a waiter appeared with the bill. That's odd. I'm sure I had my wallet around here somewhere. Emily, what's the matter? I can't find my wallet. How am I going to pay? she says, stealing glances at me. Today is our wedding anniversary and we were supposed to be here as guests, treated by our son and his wife. But why is she acting as if she's expecting us to pay? Though many thoughts crossed my mind, I didn't want to keep the waiter waiting, so I paid with my credit card. Oh dear, my apologies. I was so thoughtless, my daughter-in-law said, making a fist and lightly tapping her head in mock regret. But her face, to me, seemed to be holding back a smirk. Throughout this, my husband said nothing. I was a bit upset with him for his silence, but I was more upset with her. To invite us and then let the guests pay the full amount, and then act as if nothing happened? I could never do such a thing out of sheer embarrassment. Yet, she could do it without batting an eye. When I was contemplating how to deal with her in the future, she made an unexpected invitation. I could never have imagined that accepting this invitation would expose more of her antics. Since the incident on our anniversary, we hadn't heard from either our son or his wife. I had been enjoying the peace of not having to see her for a while, when the phone rang. Hello, it's been a while. I heard there's a Costco opening in the next town over. Yes, I've heard. Isn't Costco something like a wholesale store? Yes. You see it featured on TV often, right? Since it's nearby, let's go. I had indeed heard of Costco on TV and was curious, but going with her was another matter. Considering her past behaviors and the recent incident where she invited us and then let us pay, I had a bad feeling about going with her to Costco. Moreover, I hadn't driven in a while and lacked confidence, and she didn't have a license. Just as I was about to decline her invitation citing the driving reason, my husband, who had been listening, gestured for the phone. Confused, I handed it to him, and he uttered words I wasn't expecting. Emily, I happen to be off that day. I can drive. Shall we go together? Awesome. Let's meet up on the opening day. Thank you. After hanging up, my husband quickly left the room. I knew he was aware of our daughter-in-law's past actions, yet he proposed to go to Costco with her and even offered to drive. I couldn't understand what he was thinking. The much talked about Costco was bustling with people when we arrived. Huge shopping carts clattered everywhere. Everyone seemed to enjoy shopping, but I felt only unease. With just the two of us at home, we'd likely waste the bulk items sold at Costco. So, the only thing I wanted to buy was a refill pack of detergent I'd run out of. Meanwhile, my daughter-in-law was piling up item after item in her cart. Ah. This is the bread I saw on TV the other day. I'm getting it. Oh, and I've wanted this jam too. Hold on, Emily. You're buying a lot. You didn't forget your wallet like last time, did you? Oh come on, are you still holding on to that? That's scary. Besides, I need all these for a home party with my mom friends. I was truly taken aback by her complete lack of remorse. After shopping for a while, we began lining up at the checkout. But, perhaps due to the opening sale, every checkout lane was backed up with a long line of shoppers. It seemed like it might take a while. The cart was piled high with goods. The detergent I bought seemed to be buried somewhere beneath. As I was contemplating this, my husband suddenly spoke up. I forgot to buy something. What? Why all of a sudden? I don't know where it is. I'd like you to come with me. Oh, Emily, you can stay in line for us. Saying this, he pulled my hand, trying to lead me out of the line. I wondered what he could have possibly forgotten as we walked, but he kept moving forward. Suddenly, he sat down on a bench. My back hurts. I need to rest. From where we sat, we were a bit away from the registers, but I could still see the line of people waiting. Amidst my confusion, my phone rang. We're almost at the checkout. Where did you go looking for the forgotten item? I don't want to go through this line again. I'm sorry. My husband's back is acting up and he needed to rest. Most of the things in the cart are what you put in, right? I'll give you money for the detergent I picked out later. Could you please just check out on your own? What? Are you serious? This is the worst. I felt bad for leaving her alone in line, but was it really necessary for her to shout like that? Even without the speaker on, her yelling could be clearly heard by everyone around. Wait, Emily, did you possibly? I forgot my wallet. This is unbelievable. All because of his back pain. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have come with you. It was glaringly obvious that she had been counting on our wallets from the beginning. Did she even realize she was digging her own grave? However, I feigned ignorance and offered some advice. Forgot your wallet? Don't you have electronic money or something like that? I don't know anything about that. What am I supposed to do with all these items in the cart? His back? I don't care about that. I need to figure out how to pay for these groceries. My husband, who had clearly heard her shrill voice, took the phone from me, sighing. I understand now, Emily. You ignore those in need and think that you should always be helped. It's evident now. No, that's not what I meant. You'd rather us pay for your things than worry about my health. Remember, that kind of thinking and behavior comes back to you. We're going home. Find your own way back. What? No way. This has to be a joke. The normally silent husband firmly refused, which seemed to deal a significant blow. From the other end of the phone, repeated claims that it was just a prank echoed, but the husband cut the call without hesitation. Later, he mischievously revealed with a laugh that his back pain was a lie. Hearing this, I felt relieved. True to our words, my husband and I decided to leave our daughter-in-law behind. Most of the shopping items were hers, and since it's the neighboring town, it would take some time, but she could get home by transferring between trains and buses. Messages from our daughter-in-law kept coming in on my phone, causing it to ring non-stop. It was so annoying that I decided to ignore it for a while. When my husband and I got home and checked the phone, there were multiple missed calls from an unknown number, clearly not a mistake. Curiously, I returned the call, and it was from Costco's security office. Apparently, our daughter-in-law had been taken to the security office and they wanted someone to vouch for her identity. My husband drove back to Costco. Following the directions to the security office, we found our daughter-in-law shouting and raving. Her hair a wild mess. The sight was unbearable. Fix this situation now. You took so long to get here. We learned that she had argued with the cashier about not having money. When the cashier suggested other payment methods, she aggressively lashed out, so she was brought to the security office to prevent further disturbance. We came with her, and I believe she gave you our contact as an emergency. But as you see, she has no intention of paying. We're at a loss too. It's up to you if you want to involve the police. With that, I left the security room, not wanting to spend another moment with her. I don't want to be in the same space as my daughter-in-law, even for a moment. I later heard that a friend happened to see my daughter-in-law being taken away by a security guard, a police officer approaching the security guard, and the daughter-in-law talking to the police officer. Given the large crowd at the open sale, it's not surprising that one or two acquaintances were there. Rumors spread quickly from that friend, and she was labeled as the dangerous person who tried to run out on a massive Costco bill and the mom who called the police on a thief. The friend was shocked by the situation of being taken to the security guard, but apparently, the daughter-in-law was considered more of a rich mom. At school events, while everyone else wore regular clothes, she alone would wear a fancy dress. At the mom's gatherings, she always carried a different designer handbag, leading many to assume she was quite wealthy. However, it seems she didn't actually own any of those things. Upon closer examination, based on the unique features and brand names I recognized, it became clear that the kimonos and designer bags were all mine. While I had lent some items to my daughter-in-law upon her request, most of them were taken without my knowledge or permission. There's an old saying that news travels fast, and as the rumor of the Costco incident spread, so did tales of items mysteriously disappearing from homes, much like mine. Voices were raised about missing bags and earrings from all around. All fingers pointed to my daughter-in-law. Her misdeeds, including secretly taking items during mom's gatherings and home parties and then selling them on online flea market apps, were all exposed. For her, being perceived as a wealthy mother seemed almost like a life mission. But as the facade quickly crumbled, she lost her standing in both the school and the community. She was expected to become the next PTA president, but with the widespread rumors about the Costco incident and her past wrongdoings, that hope vanished. Naturally, such stories reached the ears of the children. The child of my daughter-in-law seems to be going through a rebellious phase, and reportedly has become very reticent. According to my son, the child has expressed disbelief at living under the same roof with his mother and even voiced feelings of embarrassment, sinking into a deep sadness. My son, reflecting upon the situation, realized he had been too absorbed in his work and had allowed his wife too much freedom in their shared life. Contemplating the negative impact of his child being with his wife, he felt the need to gain custody and slowly began making preparations for a divorce. To my relief, more peaceful days came. The confrontations with my daughter-in-law ceased, and my son's negotiations for divorce and custody of their child were successful. Now, my son, having moved closer, and his child are spending joyful days with me. Together with my son, we are cooperating in raising the child, which gives me a feeling of joint parenting. This entire experience made me realize that deceit and facades are eventually exposed, often in the worst ways. It's a stark reminder of the importance of always being honest with oneself and others.